Hey, welcome back to the Bodhi Bros. My name is Jay.
My name is Phoenix Ray. What's going
And
on?
today we are still in the rebuilding process, the rediscovery process, the rebooting process, if you will. I was like, Ray, what are we talking about today? He said, I got something we can talk about. I said, don't tell me. Don't tell me. Let's just log on, hit record, and flow with it. So we're going to do that. It's going to be a surprise for you, a surprise for me, and it'll be one of those stream of conscious conversations. And bros will
We'll
do
see
what the
where it
bros
goes.
do. Yeah, there we go.
So I had some good news that I found out that I'm going to be able to spend Thanksgiving with my family. First time since 2019.
Wow.
So, I mean, it was great
Oh,
news. When I heard this, I got the text like that. I started, tearing up, I got a little choked up. I haven't really had well, I haven't had a really had a Thanksgiving with, I'm trying to think. Well, yeah, I guess my nephew was born already. That happened. My niece wasn't. So, being there with my niece and nephew, means a lot to be able to have that and have that family time.
yeah.
I haven't had that in years, and I was so happy. However, I noticed something, and I've noticed this happened to me before. This is probably definitely a trauma related thing. Is allowing myself to be happy, and sometimes I struggle with that, allowing that, because it's like when you feel happy, I always tend to have that thing like the other shoe's gonna drop, or if something good happens, that means something bad's gonna happen to take that away or mess it up. Something's gonna creep in. So it's almost like you can't really enjoy when something goes the way you want it to, because and I feel like it's kind of like a control thing. Like I have to hold on to something because if I just let go and allow myself to be happy, then that's how something bad's gonna come in. So I almost have to kind of hold on to that, lean into like not be fully present with it, always kind of leaning towards the future in case of some other danger is gonna swoop in and rob me of that happiness and just come in like a big pterodactyl or something, just roar and just
Yeah,
it's gone.
yeah. This is a very real thing, man. And I know how important, how huge, how beautiful, how moving, how transformative this whole shift is for you because I mean, you were reduced down to like drive-bys and stuff with your family. And it was almost like you had to
Yeah,
like see them behind glass or like
right.
like you were in prison or something, you know?
Hmm.
And that like tore you up, broke your heart, and like you came to me a few times shattered, man. It was so hard to, just to see you have to go through that. But now, man, you're on the opposite side of the rainbow, and I hear what you're saying. You're like, I want to enjoy this. Look where John is. He's on the opposite side of the rainbow. Like that's what this news just brought me. I'm talking about my virtual screen. Like, why can't I enjoy this paradise? Like, and you say like it's coming from a place of it's rooted in trauma. When's the shoe? When's the other shoe going to drop and all that stuff.
Right.
So I guess the next question is how how do we in a healthy way, in a non bulldozing, bypassing way, embrace that and shift that into a place where you do feel safe and you do feel like you can be present and enjoy your family and not look toward the future and one hand up guarding
Well,
and
it's not even necessarily like this situation, but this is what brought up
the
that little
awareness.
feeling. But I mean, in general, I mean, other things too. When things go good,
Right.
it's not just that I can't really fully embrace a happy moment. I'm always feel like I have to put some sort of armor up or defend myself in case something, the next thing that happens that could be bad. So I guess in some ways I'm always expecting something else to come in, something else like unexpected, unwanted
Mm.
that I have to be ready for, that I can't really embrace and accept happiness.
Were you able to trace, did you spend time like looking into maybe where that initially was born for you? at a young age?
I didn't really give myself enough time to really do that. I mean, I did a little bit, but not really to sit and really have some quiet time for a couple hours and allow that.
That's part of it too, though, right? That's part of the resistance to giving up the control too, because you're like, oh, well, what if I do find out something? Or like attached to that knowing could be some happiness, right? Like if I do know the root, then maybe I could do something about it. But then there's that, okay, we'll just call it the ego side that's like, oh, hey, don't go spending 2 or 3 hours trying to figure out with it. This is fine the way it is. Like we're still alive, we're still healthy, we're still happy. Are we either? We might look like it externally, but internally our heart's breaking. And like you said, you're like not allowing yourself to just bite into the marrow of the moment.
Right.
So I think a lot of times shadow work, even though we're like, oh God, again, or blah, blah. Sometimes it's not even that. Sometimes it's that innate knowing that, yeah, if I do sit with this for a few hours, I'm going to learn some shit. And that's going to help me shift some shit. And oops, that's scary too.
I think just from based on what you're saying, I was able to kind of go back a little bit. And I think what it is some family dynamics were, I don't think unstable. Maybe, I don't know if unstable is the right word. Maybe unpredictable. I think maybe I was in sort of an unpredictable environment.
I bet.
Where something would happen, it'd be good. And then the next minute, a mood would change or something else. Not even that nothing out of my control. It'd be out of my control. Something would happen. And then, a family member would blow up and get angry. And it'd be all suddenly you're feeling safe and you're feeling, oh, it's great. And then all suddenly this person explodes and you're like, oh my God, now I have to be defensive and I have to defend myself. Just minutes ago, I was happy.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it's coming from.
I think it's a very common thing, Ray. Like
Yeah.
so many people like that are watching this or that might watch this or that you might talk to about this would be like, I wholeheartedly understand, because think about how many times that can happen in childhood, not just once too. Like, yeah, I asked you, could you trace it back? It like you said, was probably not one specific instance. It was my family dynamic. One specific instance that pops into my brain for my side of this equation would be, because you know me very intimately, and the fact that some of the things that I battle with, right? And it's very similar to what you're speaking about, right? Like just in that state of fear, not allowing myself to relish, like we just said, the marrow of the moment, right? Did you lose me for a few seconds there?
Yeah, I lost you for a few
That's
seconds
okay.
there.
I was saying that what you're talking about mimics what you know of me intimately about, the stuff that I struggle with and not relishing the marrow of the moment, as we just called it. And it's my dad bought a boat when we moved to Florida. And it was like, whoa, we got a boat. And it was a piece of crap, but it was still a boat, right? Yeah. And we were gonna get to go fishing and like water skiing and all this stuff. And you want to talk about ecstasy. You want to talk about as a child, like, oh my gosh, it's awesome, right? But man, out of our control, my brother and I, just out of nowhere, flip this, like grab your fucking pole, like you got it. And it was like, like we're surrounded by water. There's dolphins jumping and like fish water skiing. Like, why is there yelling? Like, what the fuck, right? You're like, we're supposed to be in a safe place, and you're supposed to be dad. And we have a boat. Like, why aren't you happy? And there were times where like he would ask us to like help him put it on the trailer and shit. We're 10, 11 years. My brother's 8. I'm 10, 11, whatever. And he's like, I'm gonna back to. What the fuck are you guys doing? It's like, we don't even have a driver's license. Like, you're screaming at us. It's like, and it's not a designer boat. It's a piece of shit boat. So you see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
there are moments like this in our lives that shake us to the core. I'm still recovering from this shit. You could probably tell by the way I just shared the story. Like that's jarring for a young being of this planet, man. Like
Yeah, I remember my dad got it was a really cool like go-kart. It looked like, like a race car, and it was a total surprise. I wasn't expecting this or asked for this. And it was cool. But the thing is, my dad is such a hothead. So we would go out, and we went to some parking lot. They were building some office buildings or something. So it was a parking lot, but it was sort of, if you went off the asphalt of the parking lot, it was sort of a little bit of a, it kind of went off. And so I was driving around, and then the one time he got real mad because I didn't, I guess it got some mud on it or something. Like dirt splashed up on it. And we went back, and he was like, I can't believe you just went in the house without washing the car. And I didn't know. Like I was I
didn't see that in
didn't
the
know I was
handbook, Dad.
supposed to.
Did not see that here in the
Yeah,
handbook.
and then at one point I went off the pavement. I think it was kind of rainy or something, and then I just like I kind of spun off a little bit, and it dented the front of it, the fiberglass, and yeah, he went crazy on me, and it got to the point where I just didn't even want to drive it anymore because I felt like I was just being evaluated, and I just felt the pressure of like, man, I'm gonna mess up or something's gonna yeah, I couldn't enjoy it at all. I didn't really like it. And then my mom ended up smashing it into a rock, and then he went nuts and everything, and just it was just a bad situation for a
Bro,
couple
think
months.
about this one experience that you're talking about. This is just one, like I talked about the boat, right? But this
Hmm.
one experience that you're talking about, this is a multi-leveled and layered traumatic thing. This is you just mentioned something else, worried about judgment.
Yeah,
We started this conversation, we didn't talk about that. We're talking about not being able to be happy in the moment because the others shoot. But now you're talking about being judged about things that are not your fault. You have no control over, have no understanding or awareness of. Like imagine walking around this planet with that constant weight on your shoulders.
right.
That's some heavy shit, dude.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, we really, I mean, we're all so, I don't want to say guilty, um, just drawn to beat ourselves up about like how this isn't working out in our life or how that is not working out. But think about for just a moment, anyone listening, watching, loving, learning, open to receive, the two very surface level examples that Ray and I shared from specific moments in our life. I'm 48 years old. I've had a lot of experiences. Ray too. Even as children, like too many to mention that mimic what we're talking about here. How the hell does anyone expect us to be like just fluidly and confidently and radiantly just gracing the trails of life right now? I'm like, oh, I've got this. I'm handling this. I'm having the grace day. I understand that. I'm okay with this. Fuck that. When the beginning of your life was like this and you're going on a roller coaster up and down, you're like, oh, hey, that's nice. No, it's not. And you're like getting riddled with machine gun bullets of of just unfairness and maliciousness and just unknowingness and all these things that, I mean, our parents did the best they can. Most of them did the best that they could with the best that they knew, and if they could give us better, they would have. I'm not saying play the victim card here or anything like that, blah, 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 blah. I'm just saying maybe take it easy on yourself. And
Right.
I'm glad you brought this up today because I'm looking for answers all the time. I know everyone out there is for in one layer level or another looking for the same to plug into their lives. And maybe with you sharing your story today, for me, what I'm taking from it so far, and thank you for this gift,
Mhm.
is maybe a solution, not the solution, but maybe just one solution, is to experiment and allow ourselves when a moment comes up like Ray's talking about. All right, he has this opportunity to spend time with his family. Just take notes, journal about it, whatever. Just can record it on a GoPro. It doesn't matter, but pay very close attention to doing it different this holiday season, Ray. Be in every moment and just said like you're jumping off the high dive for the first time. Yes, you're terrified, but you did it, and the pool embraced you. And in that moment, you were scared as shit, but you were cradled by the water, and then you brought yourself to the surface in ecstasy. Like, I did it, I'm alive. Like, now I
Right.
want to do it again. Right?
Yeah.
You didn't die. You didn't get
Well,
hurt. The other shoe
that,
didn't drop. You know
that's
what I
even the
mean?
thing. The things that when we're, let's say we something happens that's happy, that brings us happiness, and then those other feelings of like nervousness or anxiety that something bad could. How many times does that actually really happen? Hardly ever.
Right. Right.
I mean, if you think about it, a lot of
Yeah.
times I really get happy that I'm always expecting, oh, something bad is going to happen, or I can't really fully embrace this happy moment because whatever,
Yeah.
something's gonna,
Yeah.
creep in. I would say probably less than 2%, and maybe even less than 1% does that actually really come true.
Right.
So I think you kind of have to almost look at it from that point of view, like really what's gonna come in that's really gonna take this away. I mean, I'm sure you could always come up with something, but really, what's the probability? Yeah, feel those emotions, feel a lot of those feelings that come in, but also bring in bring in that mind and bring in that, okay, is something really bad going to happen?
Well, what would
Probably
you
not.
tell? Okay, that's fair. But what would you tell someone like me that's sitting over here going, I hear your advice, Ray. That's interesting. But my ego over here is going, yeah, take you and your 1 or 2% probability and shove it up your ass, because as soon as you let your guard down, Ray, I'm gonna come in and fuck you up. Right? Because you wanted to experiment and be happy. Fuck you. This 1 or 2% is happening now, which is I'm not joking. This is a very real thing for a lot of us out there. We're like, oh, I hear you. Like, the
Yeah.
probabilities, and yes, all these bad things that I ever sweated about never happened. True. And John with the J is saying, why don't you this holiday season just jump off the high dive and see what happens?
You know what I
It's
would do?
easier said than done. Okay, go ahead.
Then what I would do is I would say thank you.
Keep
I
going.
would thank you for saying, bringing that up, that it's something that's very important to you, that you think that I need to know about and be prepared about. And I would thank you because I see that you're really trying to help me out. You're trying to prevent me from being unhappy by warning me about some possible danger.
You're talking
And
about, you're saying
instead
thank
of
you to the part of you that's bringing that
yes,
up.
so
Okay.
instead of that ego that's
Speak.
coming up to warn me, and if I say, well, it's only at 1%, nothing's really going to happen, but that voice still comes back and says that, I would thank it, and I would say, yeah, thank you for that. And I would maybe even do the, what do you call that, Ho'oponopono, the
Oh,
Hawaiian mantra. I would do
right.
that.
Right.
Thank you, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry. And I would do it towards that energy.
Wow. That's being very loving and very self-aware and accepting of um, all parts of yourself all at once. Not just the
Yeah,
ones
because I
that
know.
feel good or that you want to bring to the pedestal, but even that one that you look at and go, why are you stepping on my game, bro? Like, and instead of meeting it, because would you want your mom or dad to talk to you that way? No, you'd probably want your mom or dad to talk to you the way that Ray's talking to the little kid inside himself right here.
Mhm.
It's a really good point, Ray.
Yeah, so I would try to meet it with compassion and understanding to that voice, and not resist it, because I think that the thing to do normally would be to try to be like, shut up, get out of here, what you're saying is BS, none of that crap's really going to happen. And maybe by looking at that stuff isn't really going to happen, that could maybe get rid of it, maybe. If it keeps persisting, then it needs to be met with love and compassion, loving awareness, and thankfulness for looking out for me.
I'm wondering what it was in that moment on that beach in Miami. It was at the Waikiki Hotel. It was the first time I ever saw a high dive. And I mean, the memory is very hazy, but I was terrified, man. And I wonder what I don't know. I'm just talking it through here.
Yeah.
What it was in that moment that made me say, just go. because there wasn't anyone going, come on, dude, you're holding up the line. There wasn't anyone going, don't be a chicken or anything like that. There was no bullying or anything like that. But there was something, Ray, that made me say it was okay, and I did it. And I might never know what it was in that moment, and maybe that's part of the secret is not knowing what the outcome is going to be,
Right.
and and or what the motivation is, but just in the moment, something, Ray, made me take that step and just fall toward the water.
Hmm.
I, we're always looking, like I said, for answers. We're always looking for, and maybe I need to spend time with that to help me with, taking a few more steps off some other emotional, social, et cetera, challenges or moments in my life. Like, what was it in that moment that gave me the, what could we call it, bravery, whatever, the push, the lift, the the maybe
I don't think
intuitive knowing that I was going to be safe. I don't
I
know.
don't think there was anything that was there. I think it was an absence. It was an absence of fear. It was an absence of being attached to outcome. It was an absence of the ego, the me.
Mm.
You were just completely immersed in the moment, and there was nothing. You were just in the moment, and that's what you desired to go off to have that experience. And you weren't thinking about. There was no thinking. There was no mind involved in it. It was
That's a
just
really good point, because if I look back in all the moments, like my biggest little league moments, the home runs I hit, and the
Mhm.
moments, the biggest triumphs and the winning the championship, all that stuff, right? If I put myself in the batter's box again, and you guys, well, what were you thinking? What? Nothing. I don't even remember. Dude, it was like there was so much noise around with parents and kids screaming and cheering. This never heard any of it because you're just so focused on like the moment that even the noise of the moment was canceled because it was so pinpointed, just me and the pitcher, right, and the ball floating in space and hurling in space toward me, whatever. But even that seemed to, when you relive it, people always talk about, it felt like it happened in slow motion, like slowing down the matrix, right?
Yeah.
And maybe therein is another little nugget of help or understanding that could be part of the possible solutions for all of us when we're in these moments of, how can I let myself enjoy this moment? It doesn't have to be all day either. How about just this moment? Let's start with this moment.
Yeah. And just witnessing this moment and just being with the moment, and not thinking about the moment, not analyzing the moment, just being aware of the moment. And that awareness includes how you feel about the moment, your thoughts about the moment, but you're identified with the witness instead of the doer or the thinker. So I believe it's a shift in identity that happens.
And I think we can also, thank you again for bringing this topic up and introducing it to all of us today. Um, I think we can also, where was I headed? I had a really good thought. So I'm like losing it right now. Oh, yes. We focus so much, as always, on the what what am I doing wrong, or what can I do different, blah 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 blah, that stuff, or how can I make it better, right?
Right.
Or what shadow work can I do around this trigger, right? That's my shadow work voice. We can also, in the spirit of manifestation, but also expansion and, what do they call it? Like, working on ourselves doesn't always mean fixing things. I'm doing the air quotes for those of you just listening. We can, okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Okay. We can take Ray's example, for instance. Ray can think about all the wonderful feelings around the last time he was with his family, all of the fantasies he's had about, his niece and nephew and spending time with them and playing with them outside or reading them story, all this stuff. And he can sit with these beautiful, like heart touching and just, take you to the moon moments and somatic feelings and just all of it, all of the feelings, right? Those have to be the tough ones that we have to work with. We also need to work with, like in our garden, we don't neglect the tree or the fruits or the plants that are doing well. We don't be like, they're fine. Right?
Right.
Like, I need to spend time over here with all these things that are dying, right? That need my attention. No, they all need your attention because you want to continue to have a life filled with fruits and trees and all that stuff. And so I think in this instance, whether you go back and decide to spend the 2 or 3 hours maybe to find some more root awareness as to why this is a recurring theme or pattern for you, spend some time. I know I'm going to after this, like really just focusing on the good stuff too, so you can have and attract more of it.
Yeah, definitely. Go into those good moments and bring up those memories, because those memories will have feelings attached to them. And then what you do is you hold on to those feelings, but you let those thoughts go and you just connect with that feeling. And it's sort of like a candle, like a flame. And I imagine it just getting bigger and bigger and bigger that way. And then you just use that. Imagine facing the day with those feelings that you had on your best day ever in life.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing that, meeting those new experiences through those feelings.
Yeah. What would you attribute? I mean, if you don't know, it would be interesting to know when or when it becomes apparent to you. What do you think created the shift here for you to have this opportunity now? What changed on their side or your side, or like what do you think?
For the Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
I don't know, because my parents, I don't know what's gonna happen with my parents, because my parents still mask up and my parents still go inside places. I don't know what really happened on their side. My sister's family all got COVID. Because when my nephew started preschool, within the first 2 weeks, he got COVID and they all got COVID and they all got sick. And so I think after getting it the first time and seeing how it really wasn't that bad
for them.
And now that they've had it, they feel like they don't need to quarantine anymore. Plus, if my nephew's going to school, they're not quarantined. It's
right.
And I'm pretty sure my brother-in-law, he's kind of tired of all of it. He wants to go out and do stuff and go places. And so, but I don't know how it's going to be with my parents though, because my parents are still just absolutely terrified of everything now because of this. So I don't know what happened with them, but that's what happened with my sister's family though. They got the COVID and then they got over it, and I think they just kind of moved on from that.
And I'm sure they see other people around them doing things again and venturing back out and having their families over, and they're like, hey, what, we could do this too.
Right.
And maybe this year it's all of them. They're taking their toes and crawling to the edge of their own personal high diving boards, right?
Right.
Like, let's see how this Thanksgiving goes, like. And you'll be there to be like, let's just jump. Let's cannonball into a sea of uncertainty and come up victorious together. All right. Hey, we have 10 minutes left. Ray, do you want to do anything or say anything in this final 10 minutes? Since we've pretty much covered this topic, I think
I'm good. Should we do a quick card reading?
I was kind of dangling that idea out there. Right? Yes. Thank you for taking the bait.
Right. So I'm going to pull a card from the Voyager Tarot.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is a fat deck. Look at this. Look at this fat deck. This is a fat tarot deck.
Jeez, how many
This is what
cards is that? It looks like 100 cards.
yeah, I know. There's some other there's what, eight, there's cups. I mean, that's an all tarot, but I think there's one, yeah, there's wands, there's crystals. So I think that's maybe an extra suits, worlds. I don't
Cool.
know.
Well, as Ray readies the deck and clears and preps and does his own person, and you could take us through because I know you've recently talked about a new approach to cards and everything. But before you do that, just know, folks, that Ray and I we had a conversation prior to this about broadcast, just a few minutes to talk about how we're going to level up our broadcast, and that'll be through experimenting with new equipment, new computers, internet stuff, whatever. Ray has a new Wi-Fi situation now, but we're definitely wanting to elevate the, not so much the subjects of what we're bringing, although we always want to do that, but like really just the look, the feel, how it all translates without any choppiness and all that. So we're working on that. Next week. We should have some upgrades, and also um, get yourself in a place to receive a message, because Ray's about to do that. But I don't want to take away from his thunder. Ray, let the folks know what maybe your intention is here, how to prepare themselves for this message.
All right. As always, I always clear the energy from the deck. My intention, who I'm asking, is my spirit guide to give all of us a message of what we really need to hear, what could really elevate us. What does our souls need to know right now for the greater good? So always know who you're connecting with and have a really solid intention of why you're asking.
And will you share with us who maybe specifically this spirit guide is, or anything about the spirit guide?
Nothing specific,
Okay.
but I'm feeling this card right here. And the card is Logic, the Four of Crystals. Check this out. Four of Crystals. So let me look this up.
Saw some green crystals, a blue crystal, maybe a brown crystal.
All right, here we go. Four of Crystals, Logic. The crystal, like the mind, is composed of many different facets organized into a whole. The crystal and the mind have internal organization and inner logic, enabling you to put raw creative ideas into a logical pattern and structure. Organize ideas into a systematic order. Think logically and holistically. See relationships and classify. See the essential and prioritize. Allow your critical intelligence to judge and evaluate. Use your reason and intellect to make decisions.
Okay.
I kind of think it kind of goes with what we talked about prior to this, using logic in your mind to improve and give structure. And, we talked about upgrading our equipment and using that in order to have a better creative experience.
Yeah,
So, using the mind.
and also I was hearing and feeling, as it pertains to maybe helping ourselves be more and more present when we struggle with that, and using the logic mind to say, because it's hard, especially when we're going through maybe like a panic attack or some super high anxiety, or we're stuck in that future, what's going to happen mode versus, okay, what's here right now. And maybe logically we can pick out some things. And I love that exercise, and recently actually shared this with someone in a situation that I felt called to maybe say, hey, maybe this could be of help. And they were open to receive that, because it helped me in the moment. And that's to take, the five senses,
Yeah.
right? And go, what do I see right now? And then spend like 2 or 3 minutes on the one first thing that you see, everything about that. Right now it's Derek Jeter's shoe on a poster, right? And it's a cleat, it's a Nike, just do it. There's so much in there. There's dirt on his cleat. and like his laces are tied, and it's a high top cleat. It's not a normal cleat. And there's so much that your mind just brings you into this moment. Then you go on to the what do I smell? I smell
Yeah.
incense. What flavor is the incense? And then just go. And by the time you get to the fifth sentence, a lot of times that really, now you're not bypassing or bulldozing that anxiety. You're getting yourself, and in the past, I think that when someone's like, oh, just do the and I'm like, well, there is value in this because in order to give that anxiety the love and attention it needs and that inner voice that's struggling, it really behooves us to get as present, as grounded as possible so that we can see it and connect with it in a way that's not as flustering or panicked, right? Or in such a heightened state, right?
Yeah.
Like think about someone that's running around so excited and they're like, oh my God, and they're trying to tell you what happened. And you're like, I can't, I see you're excited, but I can't understand what you're saying. And it takes a little while to just come back down to earth. And you're like, oh, and then you can celebrate together, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that pertains to the part of you that's really just panicked or anxious or whatever. And you're like, hey, let's just do this for a second. These things, these logical things that we can plug into, and so that we can get closer. I'm not forgetting you. I'm not pushing you away. I'm saying let's allow us to do this so that we can do this.
Yeah. And even using logic, if you're having some anxiety, maybe that anxiety is something from the past that's not even really, is this even really happening? Whatever you're worried about, stressed out about, is most of the time not even really, it's not coming from the logical mind. It's coming from something from some past experience too.
Right.
And not to bulldoze it, but there is a part where you should look at things logically and be like, is this really a threat? What I'm going through right now? Don't neglect the logical mind,
Mm,
but you can use it as a tool.
I
Come
like
back
that,
to
man.
reality.
I really
So
like that. I like how this whole thing was totally unplanned and we made it go full circle like we always do, and everything just intertwined together and made sense. This is the magic of our relationship, and this is all we want to do is just share that with everybody else on how just two people coming together. We call ourselves the Bodhi Bros, but it's really just John and Ray. Um, or is it? Anyway, that's for another episode. Um, we love doing this. I'm glad we decided to start doing this again. We have about a minute to wrap things up. So go to the link tree, find a platform that you'd like to connect with us if you don't already. Please, we're still looking and open for ways to transform the Bodhi Bros experience to the next chapter, whatever that may look like. And maybe we just do this for a few weeks until we decide, all right, we're gonna interview people again, or we're gonna review videos, or we're gonna do it all and just make it a mixed bag of
yeah.
surprise, like this pop-up that just came. Thanks, Zoom. Anyway, might have just been my computer. Well, from our hearts to yours, we look forward to each and every experience. Here comes the McAfee thing again. What are you doing? Like, please stop it. And we look forward to seeing you again soon and being of service. And let us know how we may be of service. And like I said, our hearts to yours. I'm John with a J.
Phoenix Ray.
We'll see you soon.